Juror number 2 is out on Max, latest film from Clint Eastwood, and as rumor would have it, it's perhaps his last. He is 94 years old now, and even to think that he still directs competently, I might add, at that age is already ridiculously impressive. So if a man that age says he's ready to retire, fair play. This stars Nicholas Hoult, Toni Collette, J.K. Simmons, and is kind of a courtroom drama reminiscent of 12 Angry Men, but with a slight twist. Hoult plays Justin, a man who gets selected for jury duty in a murder trial. Turns out it's a case where a young woman's body was found several months prior in a creek next to a road after a rainy night. She's had blunt trauma. Coroner ruled it was murder. She had a violent argument with the boyfriend at a nearby bar the very same evening right before. So the guy is accused, and even though the evidence is not conclusive, there's a lot pointing to him. But as the details of the case are presented to the jury, Justin realizes he's been in that bar that same evening. He was driving a car afterwards on the same road, in the rain, being a mess himself, and he hit something in the dark. At the time he thought it might have been a deer because he couldn't find anything after getting out of the car, so he drove away. But now he becomes convinced that he may have been the actual accidental killer. So the dilemma becomes, does he confess and go to prison himself, leaving behind a wife who is very pregnant and very dependent on him? Or does he try to sway the jury into a non-guilty verdict, saving an innocent life of the accused boyfriend? Or does he vote with the others, guilty, to ensure his own role in the events remains undiscovered? In a sense, it's a film that's similar to other Clint Eastwood movies in that it seems very interested in exploring American values and how they're actually being implemented or perverted by individuals and institutions. In this case, it is the value of truth, as Justin struggles with it, and the institutions of courts and jury and the police, where the film sort of points to numerous flaws within these systems. The police selecting a suspect and then conducting an investigation that is biased against that person. A DA who has a personal election-related reason to argue for a guilty verdict. The jury itself being comprised of individuals who sometimes are not interested in justice or in the truth, but base their opinions on their own feelings or preconceptions, or sometimes, and this was quite shocking, such trivial things as wanting to go home. One of the jurors says, let's vote guilty and be done with it. I need to go. I need to take care of my kids. Not really caring about the fact that her voice, her judgment here literally holds someone else's life in the balance. I think it's a solid film, with the caveat that it does take some liberties with the reality of the presented institutions and situations. Interestingly, I have just recently reviewed Carry On, a movie taking place in an airport, and much like there, in Juror number 2, there are some leaps in logic that you just have to accept in order for the movie to happen and for it to be able to explore some of its philosophical dilemmas. As such, I'm not really holding these logical flaws against it too much, because at the end of the day, I was caught up in the tension and the intrigue. I think performances are very good. Hoult does a very good job of playing this guy who's trying to be calm on the outside, but his mind is absolutely running on the inside. I genuinely didn't know how the movie would end, and was a little bit surprised at the ending that it opted for. I do think it slows down a bit in the final 10 or 15 minutes, but I found that fitting. And yeah, overall, I just found it to be a solid drama, definitely better than some of the last movies from Clint. The interesting thing is that Warner Brothers was seemingly intent on burying the movie in terms of its release and promotion. In the US, I think it came out in theaters, but with a very limited release. It wasn't promoted or marketed at all, then dropped to Max rather quickly, again with very little advertisement. Maybe it's another case of Warner Brothers cost-cutting measures in the form of turning movies into tax write-offs, which is a very sad practice. I don't know. I find it weird, especially considering that you have a well-known director, a well-known cast, and a pretty good film overall. So yeah, if you haven't heard about it, you can check it out. It is worth it.